So what we're going to talk about is how do you have a savings that is guaranteed interest for as long as you hold the policy, guaranteed not to lose your money, and even though you pull money and use it out of this account, it is still gaining compound interest. I know it's hard to believe, but we're going to talk about this. This is my favorite thing now. I am using these IBC policies as hard as I can go because I love them in every way, and I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out. But like I said, I'm throwing information out to you. I just want to inform you of what you can do with your money that's going to absolutely change your financial life. The YouTube channel has been set up to be nothing but information, good information for you. Okay? So if I can get information out to you that's going to help you know how to, or at least show you the options that you have with your own money, if I can just do that for you, then I am fulfilled. I am about teaching you different ways and showing you options that can help you get out of debt and change your financial life for the rest of your life, your children's lives. We want to pass down a legacy that is like we know what we're doing. And like, when your kids look at you, you want them to look at you as, wow, mom, you taught me so much, or you've got it all together. My 15-year-old, she says that to me a lot, and it kind of blows my mind. She'll say, Mom, wow, I tell everybody how good you are with what you do, and I see how you work, and you always try to look nice. I mean, she's always saying these things to me, and when your children are saying things to you like that, it's encouraging, right? It makes you think, wow, I don't even see that in myself, but if my kids are saying that about me, then I'm doing something right, because we want our children to look up to us. My older daughters, I've had them say to me, oh, I knew you were going to be successful at that, Mom, because you've always been successful at everything you do. And you're like, where does that even come from? Because we don't see ourselves as that. But wow, thank God that we're encouraging our children and our people around us. So it's super, super important that you keep growing in knowledge. You keep gaining knowledge and wisdom so that you can do right by yourself, but for your family as well. That's so important. Okay, so I don't even know how I got off on that, so I'm sorry. I'm going back here. Okay, so with this lady, I'm going to tell her about the IBC. And I'm going to say, what if now, out of your $15,000, $17,000 that you have in savings, whatever it is, what if you just took 8,000 of that and put into an IBC policy? Okay, so if she were to get her policy set up, I have 6 of them, so I know you can do this. But if she were to get the policy set up and transfer this 8,000 into her own IBC, her own system that's going to work for her, what would that look like? So she puts the 8,000 in the IBC. It starts growing over here, right? It's growing because it's gaining compound interest and paying dividends, right? So she says to herself, self, now, what if I were to take some of my money that's sitting in savings and I were to, I don't know, pull it over here and pay off credit card number 1? What's that going to look like? Well, let's run some numbers and see what it looks like. So 4167 is the balance on credit card number 1. And what if she thought, well, you know what? I could go ahead and pull 8,000 out of my 8,000 and pay off credit card number 3. That sure would feel good. So 2,043 for credit card number 3. Maybe she'll come back and get number 1, but the reason I'm looking at 1 and 3 is because the balances are causing high monthly payments. Okay, so if she could pull out of her new IBC, come over here, pay off these 2, let's see what this looks like. Okay, so that's $6,210. All right. So she's paid off these 2 cards. What happened to her monthly payments? Well, they went away. All right. So let's add up what her payments were. 262 and 231. So that's $493 that she now has free. Now, I know you guys are sitting there and you're like, okay, I have some money in my savings, but that's my savings and I don't want to, I feel nervous about using my savings. Dave Ramsey says that I need a whole year worth of expenses set up in an account somewhere. So that's my account and I don't really want to touch my savings. I don't blame you. But let's go back to what we're talking about here. You've put your savings into the IBC. So your amount that you initially deposited for your premiums is actually growing at compound interest and paying dividends. But yeah, Christy, you just told me to take a loan from myself though and pay off my credit cards. Now I don't have $8,000 in there. Well, your $8,000 is still growing at compound interest and paying dividends. You took a loan from the insurance company. And so what happens if you don't pay this back? Well, if you have $100,000 in a death benefit, then that 8,000 would just be deducted off of your death benefit when it pays out to your beneficiary. But we don't want to do that. We want to pay ourselves back because we have an additional $493 now that we didn't have. What can we do with that? Well, you're going to turn around and put that right back into your policy. Now, do you know what that means? That means that when you put this $493 back into the money that you borrowed, it's doing nothing but reducing the balance that you borrowed, and it's available for you to use again. I know, I said that. Okay, so let's kind of do it in, a visual here so that this makes sense to you. Now, remember what I said, when your initial savings was transferred into your own IBC policy, you took a loan and literally paid off 2 debts that were causing you to lose $493 per month. Let's talk about the interest on these 2 cards. One is 23.6%, and this one was 29.2%. So let's talk about the interest first, and then we're going to talk about the interest on the IBC. So let's do 4167 times 23.6. All right, so that's about $900 in a year. Let's say 900 for the whole year. And then 29.2% of 2043. So that's 597 approximately for the whole year. So let's add that up. So 597 plus 900, that's $1,497 in interest only for these two cards. Now, did I really do that right? Is that the way the interest is charged on credit cards? Do they like put that interest on that balance and say, okay, this is what you owe for the year? We wish they would do that. No, what they do is they are charging interest monthly. So depending upon what your balance is on the credit card, they charge that monthly. And then if you haven't paid that off by the next month, then guess what? You get to pay the balance plus the interest plus the new interest because it compounds throughout the year as well, right? Whew, that was a mouthful. Okay, so back to what we're talking about. If it was just $14.97 interest only for the entire year on the credit cards, what would it be on this IBC that you took a loan from yourself? Remember, it's still growing at compound interest and paying dividends, even though you have taken a loan, okay? What happens if we take the 6210 here that we borrowed initially from ourselves times about 6%? Now that's a high. My interest charges on loans I take for my own IBC policy is at 4.65. But let's calculate it at 6%. So 6210 times 6%, that is $372.60 interest only for 1 year. Wow. So I'm saving over $1,000 in interest for 1 year just because I did this little move with my savings, put it from the bank savings into my IBC savings, took a loan from myself. But am I ever going to pay $372.60? Am I ever going to pay that? I'm not. Why? Because I am going to take my cash flow and start putting it back into the money I borrowed. So let's just look at that. All right. So if now remember your credit card interest of $14.97 for 1 year, if that's the way they charged interest, and it's not. I'm giving you the basis that we already saved over $1,000 in 1 year on interest at the minimal by taking a loan from ourselves and doing it this way. But we're going to talk now about what kind of interest are we going to pay when we take a loan from our policy?